Hello, everyone. This is the I Own podcast, and this is a conversation with Yoan. So I've known Yoan for just over 2 years, maybe even 3 years now. Done a fair amount of breath work together, and he's a fascinating character. I've loved to do work with him, and I'll let him give a little introduction before we dive into our conversation today here.
Well, Isaac, thank you for having me in your podcast. I'm Yoan. I'm French. I moved to Canada in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
Discovered Zach 2 years ago. Is that what you said?
It's gotta be about two or
2 or 3.
Two or three.
I think it was during COVID actually.
okay, yeah, 3.
And discovered breathwork in 2019 after I injured my knee.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been an incredible journey since then. All the time I do a session with you, I travel. We just did a session right now actually.
Yeah.
And I'm a bit confused still.
I was wondering about that. I was like, is it gonna be good to go?
Is it
right
gonna be good
after?
to go? Yeah. I think I'm good. But yeah, I'm a professional mountain biker. I've been racing since 1993, so I started when I was 7-year-old. I raced World Cup, went 2 times on the podium in World Cup, and actually during COVID, or just before COVID in 2019, hurt my knee. I did the ACL, MCL, meniscus surgery, and that was basically the end of my career as a racer.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started a coaching company. So now I'm a coach, a bike coach, like on skills, on trails, and I love it. It's a journey that keeps on going. Mountain bike, it keeps on giving, and I'm really pumped. I love what I'm doing.
That's amazing. I haven't been mountain biking to the extent that you have, and like just to watch your videos, it blows my mind that people can even do that, and you do it on the regular, and you teach people to do it. It's fascinating to me.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a cool sport, and then my vision is that it doesn't have to be dangerous when you start.
Uh-huh.
Like I think people have a vision of like you're gonna start biking and you're gonna crash and you're gonna hurt yourself, but it doesn't have to be this way.
Yeah.
And that's what I like to teach. That's what I like to teach to people.
But it does happen.
Here I am.
Yeah.
So I broke both my wrists. So both of my wrists are broken. Normally I have a brace here.
Yeah.
And I dislocated this shoulder, and I have a third degree separation, AC separation on the right shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
In one crash, so might as well, doing everything at once.
Yeah.
But before that, my last crash was in 2019 when I did my knee, and before that was my first real injury. So I really my first time breaking a bone.
Oh wow.
First time in a cast. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty lucky, I think, or my process is working pretty well, and yeah, here we are.
Yeah. One thing stood out to me when you did that transition, because you were doing full-time professional, and then you had an injury. Can you tell us a little bit about how that was for you?
The injury, dealing with the...
Yeah, and then the transition of like, are you still going to continue to compete? I remember that was a conversation. It's like, do you retrain and go back in? Because I know athletes and that's their whole life.
Yes. So there it was I still remember. And so 2019, I was with a bunch of friends, and then I was climbing this skinny, trying to climb this skinny, and then I lost the balance, fell with my leg completely extended, and then as I touched the ground, I heard like pops. So everything kind of popped inside here, and I remember being on the ground, and suddenly I knew it. I was like, oh, that's it. That's the end of the season. It was in June, and it was like a big block of like World Cup races coming, and I was like, wow, that's a big one. I'm gonna be out for a little bit. Next thing I know, everything is broken in there. Surgery. They stitched my meniscus, so I was for 6 weeks in a splint.
Okay.
Not able to move my leg at all, and then 6 weeks after started rehab, and it took me a full year basically to come back with no pain. But then surgery was in July. I started biking really gently in February, trained all winter to get in shape to start racing in 2020. And I remember being like getting ready to go do the first block of races in March, and that's when basically COVID happened. But so when COVID happened and the world got shut down, for me, in a way, it was such a big relief because I was not ready at all to go race. I was in pain, like I was definitely not ready at all. And so at first, I started to find. I think everybody tried to find ways to keep, like, you know, being in shape and being like ready to race because we didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And after a month of like doing like workout at home and all this stuff, I was like, I'm done with shit. I don't want to do that. And I announced that I was kind of stepping away from racing. And at the same time, because the world was completely really uncertain, and I started a coaching company. I was doing some coaching in France with my brother before I went to Canada. So in 2012, 2013, as soon as I arrived to Canada, I started coaching some younger kids. And it's something that I really, really enjoyed. And then I was getting to a point, I'm 37 now, and I was getting to a point, like I think turning 35, I was like, maybe it's time for me to start to give back to people, all the things that I've learned with racing. And like there is so much that goes on with, like, you know, we can say racing is just, you just have to train and it's all good, but like it's never perfect. Sometimes you train all winter to start your season, and then you show up to the first race and then you have a mechanical or you have a crash or you can't finish the race, you get hurt or things like that. And the mental aspect is so important. And you learn, I felt like I've learned more through my defeats, like not like succeeding and not reaching my goals actually.
Yeah.
More than actually when it was a victory. So there's always constantly like questioning yourself and then like trying to improve and get better and all these things. So the mental aspect is huge. And when I step back from it, it was such a relief in a way. Like I was like, that's it. I don't have to train anymore. Like I can just chill. So it was amazing. The transition it was actually pretty easy in a way. I think it was the right time with COVID and all of that. Do I miss it? I think I miss it sometimes. I want to go race, and sometimes I watch races and I'm like, I wish I was there.
Right.
So we'll see. Like maybe next year I might do a few. I always say that. Since I stopped, I'm always like, maybe I'm going to do a few more. I do a few, but I'm not as serious anymore. I don't train as much and everything.
Yeah.
But transition was actually not so bad. And what I felt is that because I put so much, you say, when you're an athlete, you put so much effort and so much like focus in one thing.
Yeah.
And your one thing is to be the best. And when you stop that, when you've done that for all your life, then you're trying to find something else where you can put all this focus and this energy in one thing. And that's what I'm doing now with the coaching and all these things. So I'm really trying to grow my company and let's move on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was powerful. You've made your mind so one-pointed.
Yeah.
And I've heard that same thing about failures so many times.
Yes.
It's like if you can consistently fail and move between those failures without getting thrown off,
exactly,
that's your key to success.
Yeah.
You will learn more from those
definitely
than all the successes.
Yeah. No, it's quite incredible that like it's hard. Life is hard. There's always like ups and downs and stuff, but when you are like really experiencing hard things in life, that's really when you learn the most, no? And it's quite amazing. So now I do that with building gnarly features. So that's a little bit what I do now. I found a way to really push myself into like a little bit of freeride. Mm-hmm. So building things that are really questionable.
What do you mean by that? Very questionable.
Very sketchy, very dangerous, and very exposed, and kind of dangerous. And why are we doing that, really?
Yeah.
But it's the full process that I find interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Of when you build a line that you have no idea if it actually works, This is your creation, and then you are the first one that's gonna try it, and you have no idea if it's gonna work. You have no idea of the speed. You have no idea of how you need to pop. You have no idea of all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And that full process and danger and all this thing, and then passing through that, passing that fear, and then committing to do it, it's amazing. And then I find myself actually doing some breath work when I do this kind of stuff. So all the things that I do here with you and that you basically teach me, I bring it to my practice on the bike, and it's pretty amazing. And now I try to teach that to the people I coach.
And what does the breathwork give you before you do your biking?
But so, for example, let's go into a situation. I'm trying for the first time doing a crazy jump.
Yeah.
Nobody has ever done it, so you have no idea how it's gonna look like and everything.
Yeah.
So you build it. So you have this full phase of creation, and you build it, and sometimes it takes months and everything. So you really you dream about it.
When you're in your building phase, a quick pause in there, is like you're not measuring things out based on anything. You're just kind of eyeing things out and feeling it out based on intuition.
Pretty much.
Yeah, there's no engineer
there's
coming in here.
Nobody says, hey, you need to come at like 24k an hour and pop that hard, and you're gonna land right here. So it's really we're guessing a little bit.
Yeah, a lot. Okay, go on.
And especially for us, like there is some events, and they build everything with machines, and they know like the radius of the curve with like the distance and everything.
Oh yeah.
But for us, it's in the middle of the forest.
Yeah.
And everything starts with you walking with your dog in the forest, or you are with your bike, and then suddenly you see something, and you're like, oh, I think we can ride that. And so you come back, and then you look at it a bit more, and then here starts the building process. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it takes, it's a lot of effort, a lot of work. Mm-hmm. And so you really, this becomes your thing. It's become really, it's part of you.
Yeah.
And then the project kind of goes and goes and goes, and at some point gets to the moment where it's time to actually make it reality. Yeah. And that's the morning where you are with your bike, and you have a filmer and a photographer and the crew with you, and the people who help you build it, and that's it. It's go time. That's the day. So suddenly everything changes, you know. Yeah. You were doing this thing and kind of thinking that it was going to work, and then now it's the day. It's reality. Things are getting real, and if you crash, you really hurt yourself.
Yeah. So you do.
So that's when everything starts. So you really look at it, get with your bike, and then most of the time you're really calm. So you need at some point to get the energy up, get the courage up. Mm-hmm. So the breath is really like I do it more intense. So that's when I start to practice my running with my bike. So I do my running, and I start to visualize what am I going to see when I'm on my bike at this moment. And at this moment, okay, yo. And then I talk to myself, okay, yo, you got this. This is okay, you build this, you visualized it, it's all good, it goes. And then you really like make it ramp up and get that energy going really up, really high. Get to your bike, get to the start of the run-in, and then calm. Visualize the full process. What do I need to do here? I'm going to come here, jump on my bike, accelerate here, I'm going to coast, no pedal. As soon as I see this point, this is the point of commitment. I'm going, and as soon as you commit, you pass the point of commitment, there's no turning back. Yeah. And you have to completely commit to the full thing. If suddenly you panic, you hesitate, you touch the brakes or something, this is when it starts to go wrong. Yeah. So that full process before the thing, and then really like trusting yourself, trusting your skills, committing to the full thing is completely incredible, and it's the best feeling ever. When it goes well, it's the best feeling ever. So far, knock on wood, it's going really well. Except that last time.
That happens. Those are the failures along the way, right?
That was that was in Mexico at a freeride event, and they designed a huge course with big jumps, and then I came way too slow, completely misjudged the speed, and I came way too slow on a big jump, and hesitated, touched the brakes just before taking off, and lost a bunch of speed. And in the air, I saw it right away. I was like, oh, and then went way too short, cased, bounced, and then landed like that, maybe 10 meters below with my arms like that, and then everything went wrong. Yeah, but it's funny because that day, so it was an event completely different than the setup we have here.
Yeah.
Here, if I don't feel something, if I'm, even like it's the day and I'm gonna send it and whatever for the first time, if I don't feel it, I don't do it. Over there was the pressure of the event and a bunch of riders, and I'm Yoann Barelli, and I should be doing this kind of stuff. And it's funny because I was not really feeling it, and I remember before dropping it, I could not really visualize myself doing that, and I still went.
Now, hindsight.
Yeah, and I went without really being completely committed and without really feeling it, and that's when mistakes happen.
Wow.
Yeah.
I want to touch back into that method you kind of spoke about. I don't know if you use that all the time, and I'll ask a follow-up there.
Yeah.
But I find that fascinating, and it's not necessarily just for doing what you do.
Yeah.
I think that's applicable. But when you start breathing like that, like we integrate more of our mind into our body so that we're fully here. Our whole nervous system is firing.
Exactly.
But it's so important that you stimulate and then you calm down.
Yeah.
So I really like that, because if you were to stay stimulated, for some people that might be a little bit too much sympathetic dominance, which could actually throw them off into that fear state.
Yeah.
But you regulate your nervous system after you've stimulated it, which is like a good warm-up, so you're prepped. Now a question, do you always use the visualization? Is that quite common?
Yes.
Almost always.
Almost always. And I've learned that when I used to race. So I used to race downhill, and the downhill track is 2 or 3 minutes.
Okay.
2 or 3 minutes long, one track. So you do a bunch of practice, like 7 or 8 practice, and at some point this one track, everything in your head, everything. You have to take on the right side of this rock here, and then on the inside of this route right here, everything in your head. So before you drop into your run, I used to do visualization, and all the top guys are doing that, top people are doing that. Visualize everything, and they visualize themselves doing the perfect run, all the way down to passing the finish line, the crowd, even the guy, the announcer. You really visualize the full thing, and then you drop in.
Wow. Yeah, there's been a fair amount of studies that show when we visualize, the brain doesn't actually know that it's not doing it.
Exactly.
So we don't get the full
trick
thing.
Your brain. Exactly.
Yeah, so you get more reps in.
Yeah. You completely trick your brain, and that's what I basically say to the people I coach now. Well, before we're going to do something, I always make them practice off the bike, pretending that they are on the bike, and then they are actually going to do the move. So they are really we are creating muscle memory, and they are doing okay, here I'm going to have to engage my shoulders, and then after that I'm going to have to push my handlebar down.
Wow.
At the bottom of this, I'm going to push with my legs. So we're really making people making completely all the moves. So when they go to their bike after, it feels like kind of deja vu.
Yeah.
And then you can really visualize yourself perfectly after doing exactly those moves. And then I can watch actually people do it, and I can correct them before they actually do it. I can say, no, this is not the move. This is not the move. You're doing the move completely wrong here. So I can change actually what they are doing to make them do the move perfectly, and most of the time it works pretty well.
Wow.
Yeah.
I like that. We even use that in yoga when we're doing, if a person can't lift their leg up there, just see your leg going up there, and eventually the mind and the body will be able to align eventually.
Crazy,
yeah.
It's cool.
I really like that you can correct people when they're doing things just by seeing them.
Yeah, on foot. And then after, calm down, visualize yourself doing that. And what I felt as well, and what you said, so breathing hard, really boost your courage, and then you're charging yourself, and it's also I feel like it's a good moment. Then you can talk to yourself clearly. Suddenly you're okay, I'm going to come here, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and you really talk to yourself clearly.
Right.
You have a conversation with yourself, within yourself, do the move exactly, and then suddenly that's it. It's the time, it's go time, and I can go, I'm completely confident, and I commit to it.
You're taking charge of your state, because many people, they're having all these thoughts, what if this goes wrong?
Yeah.
You're I'm going to master my mind, and then with conscious intention, I'm going to focus where I want to go.
It's cool, huh?
That's applicable everywhere
Yeah.
in life.
For everything.
Yeah.
For work, for anything.
Yeah, you have a goal, you want to visualize it, all those steps,
Mhm.
that continual repetition.
Everything, like I think I found like like a process that works for me for all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But everything might have a different process. It's understanding this process that leads you to this moment. Because sometimes we think always about the end goal. Like I want to be world champion.
Yeah.
But if I just focus on like I want to be world champion, it's never gonna happen. I need to think about all the process that's gonna lead me to that goal at the end. And this is what's important.
Yeah.
Just like sending it on a race day is never gonna work. It's actually you win the race in the practice before.
Yeah.
That's how it works. So really like step by step, knowing your game, knowing what you are doing here, and
Right.
understanding where you are playing. It's super cool.
I've heard that a lot with people. It's like they have a goal, but it's vague, it's not defined, and they don't know the path, and they don't know what they need to do right now to get to there.
Exactly.
That all has to be known. And then follow-up question on that is like, what else from your career in racing is like taught you how to live life? Because that sounds like through that practice, you were able to take that into your business world. Is there any other pieces like that?
Say that again.
So like in your mountain biking
Yeah.
and what you do,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when we do something like yoga, like martial arts, they're teaching us how to live our life,
Yeah.
setting us a pace. They're teaching us things that are not just local to that sport.
Yeah.
They're applicable to our whole life. Is there any other pieces in your mountain biking career that really stand out like that?
But what I've realized with the way with racing is that if I really focus in one thing and if I give it all my passion and my love and really my heart into it,
Yeah.
most of the time it's gonna work. If I don't, if I'm not really into it,
Yeah.
it's not gonna work. So really, like it taught me to do things with my heart and passion, to really do it with love. It's the only way to make things succeed. So for example, if I start a coaching company, but I'm not really into it, it's not gonna work at all. If I suddenly am really like trying to learn how to coach, trying to because that's what's important. I can be the best mountain biker in the world,
Yeah.
but I have no idea how to teach, and so I need to learn how to actually teach.
Yeah.
So you really like put all your effort to like really learn like how do you transmit to people this movement here? How do you transmit to people this or the passion for mountain biking? So you have to have it in you.
Yeah.
So do things with love.
I really like that you said passionate love, and what stood out to me about that is like I resonate with that.
Yeah.
I hear that and I feel that, and
Yeah.
I know a lot of people who do incredible athletics and they have that love, but it's not always spoken about with like when you do a sport, involve your love in it.
Yeah, it's true.
Do you think that most people you competed with were having love for their sport, or was it more of like a discipline? Was there other kind of motives in there, and how does that change the athlete?
That's a good question actually. I don't know actually if people always do things with like athletes do things with love. Maybe. I hope so.
I guess how do they define that love and how that's expressed? Or
That's true. Huh.
I would say there's definitely, it's quite common that a lot of people can become high achievers, not out of love, but because they're seeking love, often from not receiving it from a parental figure, often a masculine father figure.
Yeah.
And then they go and they create a whole persona and an energy about achieving because they're actually trying to achieve their father's love. And that's a whole way that they can become successful. And another way is we can do it from our love.
Yes.
That we're filled up with love and we love what we're doing. So you could see two people competing in your field or any other field, and they're both fighting from a different place.
Yeah. Oh, it's true. Huh?
Yeah.
I like that.
And I would say that the love is really what's going to allow to anchor in. And well, I think it's an essential ingredient in that whole process to find fulfillment for sure.
Yes.
So with breath work, has that been a part of that love process?
Definitely. Definitely. What I feel with the breath. First of all, I think I did my first session I did my first session after I got my surgery for my knee with Ed in Whistler.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny how it happened. Like Ed was he was walking. He had a studio like right beside where I used to live. And then he saw me and he's like, "Hey Yoann, like I'm doing this thing, and I think it's gonna be amazing for your career as a biker. Like, you know, I do breath work, and it's gonna increase your like." He tried to like get me with like my practice, the biking.
Of course.
And I was like, okay, well, if that's gonna help me to go faster, I'm gonna try it. And then next thing you know, I'm lying down with Ed. And he's like, do you have any idea of what breath work is? And I said, I have no idea. I don't know. You know, I was like, okay, that's perfect. Let's jump in. And the session was probably an hour long. And came back from the session. And I remember opening my eyes and I looked at it and I was like, what the fuck? And he laughed and he was like, it's powerful, right? I was like, oh my God, like it was crazy. Like I went like my arms, you know, like you go like that and you tense yourself, like my face and I like everything got tight and I started to like maybe scream. I don't remember screaming, crying and all the things. And I was like, wow, what was that? So I booked another session and we did the same thing, even maybe different because it's always different. And another experience, super intense as well. And what I realized in the second session is that I was like, wow, I felt like I connected with myself.
Mm.
Like for the first time in a really long time. Like I really felt like, oh, this is my body, this is me, and I'm safe. And you know, like, and I felt love, and I felt like it was amazing. Like I really felt myself, and I felt at home for the first time in maybe a long time. And then right away he said, hey, I'm doing a retreat. So I went to that retreat, and this thing completely changed my life. It's completely all the time when you go back to the breath. If you don't do it for a long time, you go back to it, and that's the first thing I feel is. I feel back at home. I feel love. I feel. It feels amazing.
Mm.
It feels amazing. So yes, I think that the breath. I don't know if it's linked to the question that you said, but
that's where we're going. I like it.
I think that. It's amazing, and you feel your own love. You know when you do it, or when I do it. I should say I, because it's my experience.
Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah. You feel safe, you feel protected, you feel like I should say I feel. This is not you.
It is a common experience,
yes.
But yes, you feel that, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because I find that it's the breath. It's universal, and anyone can receive from it. Anyone can benefit from it. If we simply change our breathing across the board, all humans will benefit in some way. But for some people, they really take to the practice.
Yeah.
They'll have a session, and it will just open up or unlock. They'll see the value in it, and they'll really follow it as a path. And it's a practice, right?
It's a practice.
You can do it, and you can fall away from it. You can stay with it, and you can grow with it over time.
Yeah.
And the more we do it, we get deeper in it, and we can learn to work with the breath and when to connect with those states you spoke about. And it's interesting to me who really clicks with it, because it's not like just one group of people.
Yes.
It helps people sometimes at certain transitions or times. Like I sometimes see people when they're going through a divorce or death or something.
Definitely.
And then other times it's a more regular thing, like acupuncture or massage, where you kind of get your old tune up and you feel good about that.
Yeah.
But it does have such versatility in that, which I really appreciate.
Yeah, it's crazy because sometimes you show up to a breathwork session and then you think that's okay. I'm gonna work on that today, and then the breath takes you to somewhere completely different. Like just now, I felt like I actually I came thinking, okay, I have a lot of projects for this year and things on the go. So I was really like, I think I need some clarity.
Mm-hmm.
And but then I think I went to re-experience, actually relive my crash in Mexico, where I broke myself, and then I got all twisted with my shoulder, and it was really, I couldn't breathe for a moment. Like, it was really it's crazy. It's a crazy experience. I love it.
So re-experiencing. And I would say also that sometimes we have that conscious intention,
Mm-hmm.
and what's actually blocking us or allowing us to get to where we want to go, it's necessary for us to process something that
Yeah.
we didn't necessarily connect
Definitely.
to that piece.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just the greater intelligence of the subconscious,
Mm-hmm.
which is the body, is going to bring up what's really needed to
What
do
needs to-
so
yes.
we can move forward.
Yeah. There's no control. Huh? He goes where he wants to go. Huh?
Yeah. It's not what we want, but
No.
what the body and greater part of us needs.
Yeah. Like, it's always good for me to approach it and being curious and being okay to let it go where it wants to go.
Yeah.
Like, really surrendering to the breath and surrendering to your feelings, and then it really takes you on the journey. Huh?
That's one of the biggest things that a lot of people who don't take to the practice
Mhm.
are missing,
Yeah.
because ideally we can step in with curiosity
Yeah.
and an openness to experience
Mhm.
pleasant or
Yeah.
unpleasant.
Unpleasant.
And if we're not fully open to do that, we're going to be resistant,
Yeah.
and we're not going to drop in,
Mhm.
because the body may be wanting to surface some things that may be unpleasant.
Yeah.
But if we process them, we'll be more balanced and we'll be able to experience more pleasure on
Yes.
the other end. But we have to go through that.
We have to go through that.
Mhm.
You have to pass that bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, we need to feel, and we need to become more sensitive and aware to what's going on.
Mhm.
And that creates something really beautiful. It's like that superpower of, like, when you're feeling blocked and not feeling well, there's somewhere in the body that's held.
Mhm.
Could be the throat, could be the diaphragm. And for most people, maybe they know where that is in their body, but do they have the tool to release it?
Yeah.
And it's so nice that it's like, oh, something's going on with me. Check in. Where is it in the body? Okay, well, if I breathe in there and feel it, then that'll shift. And there's not that, like, indeterminacy of, like, oh no, I'm going to be in this state forever. And it's like, okay, so I'm feeling this way, it'll pass.
Do you do breath work in your car when you drive?
Not this type. I do not recommend that at all. I have done.
Sometimes I do.
I have done breathing and
Yeah.
meditation, and yeah, for sure.
Sometimes I do. I do like 10 to 20 breath, and then I do some breath hold a little bit, and I'm like, holy shit, I'm gonna pass.
I'm not gonna recommend
This is
that.
not good.
Yeah, but I have done that, and I do that. For sure.
I don't know why I thought about that.
You don't tell people to do that when they're biking too.
No.
Breath holds.
So you're gonna breathe 15
Yeah.
times, and then you exhale it all, and then breath
Then
hold.
go off the jump. You might not ever breathe again.
Oh.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
carry breath work and at least meditation with me everywhere.
Yeah.
Like I have a practice in the morning, practice in the evening, and then I little tune-ups throughout the day. And then I practice breath witnessing, which is one of the most underrated and most potent ways of doing breath work. And breath witnessing is not
Okay.
changing the breath. Now, this isn't subconscious or just unconscious breathing where you're not paying attention to it.
Okay.
If we just pay attention to the breath, there's a natural force of it will tend to regulate itself
Okay.
without us needing to effort,
Oh.
which is a huge shift because a lot of what we're doing in the breathwork practice is we're changing our nervous system at like a very deep subconscious level.
Okay.
We're changing our breathing pattern, which
Yeah.
is related to our thinking and
Mhm.
feeling and those patterns and systems that are operating.
Yeah.
Now, the breath witnessing is complete surrender. It's the same thing. If
Okay.
the breath is not full and deep, often what do we want to do? We want to fix it.
Yeah.
We want to make it full and deep.
Yes.
What if we just allow it to be where it's at and just to feel everything as it is?
Okay.
And what will happen is if you're truly feeling the sensations of the body, they will process, and then the breath will naturally shift over to becoming more full
Mhm.
and deep once it's processed that and you didn't put any effort in.
Okay.
For most people, the
I
pattern
love it.
is, especially in the West, is something's wrong, fix it, do something about it.
Yes.
Control effort,
Yeah.
which is great. It's a skill. It's important. And then the other end of that is, hey, something's wrong. What if I just surrender and allow it to be? And think about life. Sometimes we need to get up, control, and do.
Yeah.
Sometimes somebody dies and you can't fix it.
Yeah.
You can't control that situation. You have
that.
to surrender.
Yeah.
And that is one of the greatest practices for that. And you can take it with you everywhere. Because it's hard to control your breath all day. It's effortful. But if you have breath witnessing, you can be aware of your breathing pattern
and you let it
pretty
be.
well all of your waking day if you're focused on it. So it's another skill to develop in meditation and breath work.
Yeah, I never really do that. I try to actually change it. If I see that I'm not breathing so much into my heart, like there's a tightness in there, then I'm gonna try to go in there and then unlock it. But I should, I'm gonna try that as well. That's interesting. I like it.
Yeah, it'll help that practice too, because part of getting the breath in the body is allowing our mind to sink down into the sensations. And naturally, if our breath and mind sinks into a part, the breath will soon follow.
Okay.
So there is a more slow way. It's like a deeper, it's like romance with the body.
Yeah.
You can't just force it in there. There's got to be a period where you allow everything to settle and warm, and then there will be a natural deepening of that.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. That's breath practice it's quite new to the West, but many traditions such as Qigong or yoga have been working on these techniques for thousands of years, and it's just like, it's endless. You can work your whole life on these things.
So for someone like me, do you recommend doing breath work every day? Yes, huh?
Yeah. The conscious connected breath work that we do in 1 hour sessions, I wouldn't necessarily you need to do that. Yeah, you could do shorter sessions. You definitely could. I used to do it for a bit, but I didn't find it. I didn't like to do it every day.
Okay.
I find that they're more powerful sessions, and they're good like once a week.
Okay.
More often if you're going through a period, or if I'm on retreat, maybe multiple times a day.
Okay.
But every day,
no.
I didn't particularly take to it. I like to. But I train in many different things.
Yes.
And I feel like that one doesn't necessarily prepare me for my day. Say I have an hour of meditation, I need to move my body to prepare my body. So it's just not ideal for me. But you can certainly do breathwork every day, and I do recommend a breathwork or meditation practice, whether that's your yoga or even just something where you're body conscious, not just doing something, focus on external activity, but aware of your body as you're doing it, which can be mountain biking and walking, anything. It's just adding that additional piece of internal sensing and feeling.
Okay.
And that'll really keep us regulated, and then consciously creating our state. Just like when you're about to go off that mountain, it's like we want to create and control our mind to a certain extent. Otherwise, stinking thinking and negative emotions and reactivity are going to jump in there.
Well, they're creepy, no?
Stresses. And
what about if I crash?
Exactly.
No.
What do your daily routines look like?
Cold shower in the morning.
Okay.
Yeah, like 2-3 minutes. Cold shower, and then now going to the gym just after that. Really, I feel like the really cold shower, a little bit Wim Hof kind of technique. You really you go to your breath, like to be able to surrender with the cold and everything. You have to calm yourself down and really surrender to the cold and the sensation and everything. So I feel like it's a good way to connect to the breath and the sensation in your body and everything, and really stimulant. And boom, you can start your day right after that.
Yeah.
So gym after workout, and then after a bit of work, and that's it. I don't really stretch. I think I should stretch a bit more in my life, or do yoga.
What do you do in the gym? Powerlifting? Are you functional movements?
Now it's really functional movement, legs, like getting strong in the legs and core as well.
Okay.
Because it's crazy how I've never really experienced getting injured like that, and like not being able to actually do anything for weeks.
Yeah.
Your body becomes completely soft. like you lose everything, bloop, you become a sausage.
Buddha belly.
So yeah, it's crazy. And so yeah, last week I was like, okay, I need to get back into that and take charge of everything. And it's been good. So, but yeah, I need to pair that. And then I do sauna. So all the time I'm done with the gym session now, I go to do a sauna as well. And I do 15 minutes, little break, 10 minutes, little break, 5 minutes, done.
Okay.
So 30 minutes of sauna.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. So I do the two opposites, the hot and the cold, in the same day.
Yeah.
And it's pretty amazing. It's been really like stimulant. My skin feels better. My body feels tighter. Like I'm already like re-energized. It's pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
Like it's crazy how like doing things for yourself, like pairing sport with like some things that are actually quite hard. Huh? Like the cold is not easy. The sauna really hot is not easy as well. Like staying a long time.
Yeah.
And doing these things really completely transform yourself. Huh? It's really cool. Huh?
Yeah. That same theme of like do some things that are pleasant and unpleasant.
Yeah.
Cold being more unpleasant.
Yeah.
If we're doing them daily,
yeah.
we just find a little bit more resilience.
Exactly.
And we're okay to do challenging things during the day.
No, it's crazy how like I think maybe society is making us a bit soft in a way. Like I see the kids or like the way the school system is and everything, and now it's like really talking about I think we are becoming a bit soft.
For sure.
And then doing hard things are so beneficial for everything in life.
Absolutely. Like
getting out of your comfort zone. I was watching a video the other day on YouTube about a coach who is giving tips for 40-year-old how to bike for 40-year-old. And then all his tips were ready to not take risk, not train too hard, don't go ride with people that are faster than you.
Right.
Don't do it was insane, and I was like, So you basically you stay in your comfort level all the time.
Yeah.
And I completely disagree with that. Like it pissed me off when I was looking at that. Actually, right. I was like, what the fuck?
There's a lot of that, and let's say I can talk about it from like a yoga point.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like trauma-aware yoga coming out, which is needed for people with trauma.
Yeah.
But they're teaching it more and more on the regular to all classes.
Okay.
So it's like, do this, don't push yourself too hard. If it doesn't work for your body, make this adjustment. And it's good to have that, to teach that.
Yeah.
But when all the classes are like that, it can be like teaching a class, like grade 7, and teaching towards the lowest student.
Exactly.
So everybody else is not pushing themselves. Yeah. Everybody else is not learning. And of course, there's a whole bunch of other things in there with yoga and how we teach. But if we're always doing that, we can definitely lose something. And that's the softening that's happening.
Yeah.
I never thought about it, but I thought about when you mentioned it. It's like kids, they're integrating more yoga and things. But I was like, give them saunas and cold. Giant saunas in classes. Heat them up, cool them down.
Do hard things.
And kids, I know a fair amount of parents with children, and kids love the cold. They can play in it.
Yes.
If they're not taught at an early age that cold and then the resistant reaction is a conditioned response, then they don't care.
No, it's true.
They can get into it, and then they can have that for the rest of their life.
They can have and then knowing how you're gonna react in the cold and all these things. Like it's do hard things. No, we are not made of sugar. It's funny, and then also when I broke myself, I at first everything was hurt, like I was hurting and everything, and then at first I knew that things were not right, and I was kind of scared. I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be disgusting. Like I'm gonna be in pain. Like it's gonna be, and then it wasn't so bad. I was like, wow, at the end, like it's not so crazy to break yourself. It's not too bad. So let's send it.
Well, I would offer, like, I'm someone who trains in call mixed mind body arts like qigong and yoga, and we really emphasize there's a time to be regulated in the middle.
Yeah.
There's a time to push the nervous system in towards maximum stimulation, excitation, and there's a time to go into complete stillness and relaxation. And those are both polarities we want to develop a skill to be in.
Yeah.
In the West, we're very much tilted towards effort, excitement, and doing that less in the regulation, even less into really truly like deepening into deep, relaxed, meditative states without just watching TV, taking a drug or medicine.
That's true.
And going in that, just actually finding internal stillness. And what develops is a capacity to stay regulated and keep your stillness during the excitement and keep the awareness and, you know, focus and when you're in the relaxation.
Yes.
So that's definitely a skill. And I know that softening of the body because I transition between like martial arts, which I'm eating a lot more protein, working out, and then doing yoga, and my body becomes all soft and flaccid and fasting, and I'm like, everything just goes away. And it's humbling because you got to continue like, build up your ego kind of thing. And, I have all this power. And then it's like, struggling to pick up that 40-pound kettlebell over there now.
Yeah, it is important actually to do the polarities, the opposite stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And put that kettlebell on you today.
Exactly.
That's when no one's around. Is what I do to facilitate myself. Put a 40-pound kettlebell on my own tummy. Yeah.
But living here, living in the sea to sky, and it's true, everybody is super active and everybody is kind of hardcore and everybody wants to as soon as there's the first snow in the mountain, like people are like, yeah, let's go ski, and they hike up with their ski boots and they get to people are really intense, so they are super active in a way, like pleasure for yourself and sport and fun and everything.
Yes.
But it's true that finding that stillness, calm, peace, quiet for yourself, moment for yourself actually is super important as well. And I miss that. I think now I want to commit to like more of a practice and doing more yoga and more breath work and like really finding that peace as well, because I'm always like go. I'm the same.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's for me. I definitely need. The stillness and the calm for sure. It's important to find the balance.
Yeah.
Life is just about balance. It's always a question of balance, and I see it with my company and the biking and everything. There's always like this thing. Like if I do too much coaching, then I don't have enough time to do the things for my sponsors. If I do too much of the sponsor, then I'm doing less coaching and I don't do the videos and I don't do as much building and everything. So it's always like. And then the kids, the family, so it's always a question of balance.
Yeah.
And then sometimes, of course, the balance is not always perfect.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have this one that goes up here, and then you have to regulate. And I think that having a regular practice and centering yourself, like being okay, now I'm with myself, I'm centered, I know what I need. Like that's the perfect way to actually be balanced most of the time.
Yeah, I've been feeling that more and more in my life. It's like what I really seek is not all these rewards and all these things. Those are important. Yeah. But it's actually to stay regulated and have a capacity to do those and then keep my balance. And that more and more is becoming a theme. And as you know, our breathing represents how we live. Yeah. And many people in the West and in the sea to sky corridor have much more active breathing patterns. So when we try to bring a regulated pattern in there, it's hard for them to even maintain regulation, because their dominant subconscious pattern comes in and they're back to whereas if I go to Salt Spring or somewhere else, everyone's super chilled out, and sometimes it's hard to get them to pick up their breathing because they're all so chilled out. So it's always like, the breath can bring us back to that balance. And then when I first got into breath work and yoga and all these things, I was quite a high performer and high achiever. And I didn't want to lose that. And I was like, I don't want to be a Buddha who just sits off in the mountains. And I find that the more I do these practices, yes, a lot of that achievement or the reasons why I was doing it did fall away. So I did do less. Okay. But I'm still doing a whole lot of things. Okay. Podcasting and breathworks and retreats and all these things. Yes. And I'm doing it from a place where my mind is at peace, which is like completely revolutionary. It's like you don't have to. have all that additional stress that we cause. And we can do all those things, and we'll do just the things that we actually need.
Yes.
If we're really focused on like what's going on for us, we're regulated, and then
Exactly.
we can throw away all those things that are less important,
Yeah.
and stick with our family and our values and our real dream.
Because yes, and it completely goes with like most of the time when I go see you, like it's a pattern that I discovered actually last week. That all the time when I see you, it's always when there's like a lot of like I create, and then suddenly everything comes at once, and then woof, I'm like, holy shit. I'm super overwhelmed, I'm completely locked in, I'm tight. It doesn't flow at all, like everything is I don't know where to start, and that's most of the time when I come see you, and then I'm like, oh, I think I take on too much. And I don't need this, I don't need that, and I start to like kind of purify a little bit my life and my lifestyle, and then everything goes back to normal. And then 2 months, and then everything is calm, and then it's too calm, so everything goes back.
That's the
and then
cycle.
I go see Zach again.
Yeah, I hit that same thing too. I just did the Vipassana meditation retreat. 10 days of sitting in silence.
Yeah.
And completely silent, you come completely stabilized.
10 days.
Still 10 days, 10 hours a day.
Silence.
Or 9 days of silence. You can talk on the last day. And by the end of it, I was like, okay, now I'm bored of being still.
Yeah.
I don't want to just do this for the rest of my life. Now I have all this energy to go do. And that's like the dance.
Yeah.
And that's what makes life so fulfilling. And a lot of times, if we do the do constantly, it's more fueled by dopamine.
Yes.
Rather than serotonin, which is more about fulfillment. Serotonin and oxytocin. And it's dopamine and norepinephrine, which are more associated with that do and drive. And that's the same thing as in all addicting chemicals that we take. It's like we'll go in these cycles, obsessive thinking patterns, obsessive patterns, drive. You know, when we want to achieve, we have these patterns of working out, etc. But they don't always bring fulfillment.
No.
So long as we're caught in that cycle, we either can't break it, take a time away from it, or, you know, it's like, just periodization.
And that's exactly what I felt last week. I think I was doing a lot of things giving me a lot of dopamine. I think the feedback was already that, and I was actually thinking and feeling that I should be doing more things that will fulfill me. And that's a little bit what I want to try to do right now. There's the things, for example, like with my business, in things that are going to make money. And for some of this stuff is not necessarily really fulfilling. It's like more the job and everything.
Sure.
But then on the side of that, I actually need to do more things that are fulfilling, like more giving back to the community and more like grassroots project and helping more people and everything. And that's what I want to try to put together a little bit more this year. Go back to doing some garbage pickup in the fall, in the spring actually. Yeah, it's coming back a little bit. I haven't done it last year. I was a bit sad actually 2 years ago doing those garbage pickup in the Sea to Sky, because I realized that we've been doing that for 3 years, and then last year we went back to the same piece of the highway that we do every year, and it was all the same amount of garbage everywhere, and nobody is doing anything. We went to see the mayor in Whistler, and nothing really changed. So I was really like we've been doing that, and nothing is improving. So I was really discouraged a little bit last year, and but I think like it's coming back. Like I want to clean the shit on the side of the road again.
for the listeners, it's been going on for a number of years that you started cleaning up.
Yeah.
What part of the highway was it?
Well, we cleaned a bit everywhere, but we cleaned from south to Whistler to north of Whistler many times, the full highway, both sides, and we cleaned from Whistler to Pemberton and over here, almost everything.
Wow.
And some parts of the highway in between Squamish and Whistler as well.
And didn't you buy your own garbage truck?
No.
I saw a post one time. That was a joke? Okay.
Because I was really like, that's the only thing I was doing. That's when I was hurt. So I was just coming back from surgery, and the only thing I could do was walking at some point.
Yeah.
And so I was like doing garbage every day. I was doing garbage pickup. I was really, it was really intense. And then at some point, I thought that it would be funny to make a little joke and pretend that I got a garbage truck. And everybody was pumped. They were like, "Holy shit!" So I was like, "Shit! I think I should have done it. I should have bought a."
Yeah.
Anyways, they are pretty expensive, so I don't have the finance. It's really expensive, a garbage truck. It's like 150K or something.
Yeah.
So I don't
imagine.
I can't buy a garbage truck.
Yeah.
But anyway, we went far. We picked up a lot of garbage, and then it keeps on coming back. So we have to do it again. And I want to like invite people. So if you are a listener and you live in the Sea to Sky, in the spring we're gonna do more of those.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always pretty amazing because we don't really realize actually how much garbage there is everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only when you start, actually you have a garbage bag and some gloves, and then you start to do it, that you start to realize, oh my god, it's everywhere, on the side of the roads, in parking lots, trailheads, everywhere.
Yeah.
And you get really conscious of how we consume. And I swear, you do a full day of garbage pickup, you realize how much we pick up. Like sometimes we will pick up like 4 tons of garbage in one day, like 20 people. Garbage bags on the side of the road every 100 meters, full garbage bag. Tons of garbage.
Wow.
And then going to the transfer station, paying the fee to actually discard the garbage.
Yeah.
And the next day, or you go to the grocery store, and then you realize how much packaging there is everywhere and all this stuff, and then you're like, holy shit, everybody is guilty. We are all part of the problem.
Yeah.
It's not just pointing the finger at one person. We are all guilty. We don't pay attention to anything, and it ends up everywhere.
Wow.
So it really puts you. You realize it a bit more, and then you are more conscious of the things you buy, and that's basically the first step. Like the work has to come from us.
Mm-hmm.
And it has to change by the way we consume things.
Yeah, that's pretty shocking. You said that you cleaned it up so well, and then the next year it's all there
The next year is back.
That's a lot of garbage.
And then what we've realized actually that was quite shocking. Is that the first time when we started to do all this movement, it was during COVID, so there was no tourist, and. So we cleaned everything and we were blaming it on the tourists. Oh, the tourists, they come and they don't care and they throw everything.
Right.
But then the year after, it was during COVID, no tourists, and there was still the same amount of garbage. So all this stuff actually comes from us.
Wow.
And people that are completely negligent. Or also we've seen it, people put their beer cans in the back of their truck.
Yeah.
And then they drive on the highway and everything flies in the back of the truck, goes everywhere. Park your car. Oh, my car is clean. Yeah, everything is on the road.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I appreciate that way of framing it too. It's us, and there's no point in saying this or that, pointing fingers. This is all our problem.
Yeah, this is all our problem. And the way I started this movement of picking up garbage in 2019 is that I was driving to Pemberton. And I was following a truck, and the guy in front, the passenger, tossed like a Tim Horton cup out of his window.
Mm-hmm.
And I got so upset. I was so upset for the full drive all the way to Pemberton. I was like, oh my god, this guy, like, he can't believe we are in 2019. People are still like tossing their stuff out of their window. I completely lost it.
Yeah.
So upset. Parked my car, and suddenly I was like, wow. I'm so frustrated at this person, and I didn't do anything about it. I didn't stop. I didn't stop to pick it up. I actually blamed it on this guy, and I didn't do anything about it. And I was like, wow, this is actually what we do these days in this world, is that we always point the finger at people, and we never actually do anything. So the next day, I posted something on Instagram. I think at that time I had like 100,000 followers or something. And I was thinking, wow, I'm going to post something tomorrow and we're going to meet 9 a.m. at this spot on the highway. Hundreds of people are going to come. And the next day, only one person showed up. And that was the start. We looked at ourselves, and it's my buddy Shane Roy. He lives in Pemberton.
Okay.
And we looked at ourselves. We're like, well, we're still gonna do it. So we picked up garbage bag and we started to walk, started to pick up stuff. And that day, I think we covered 500 meters only, not even 1K. 500 meters one side, 500 meters the other side, coming back to the car. And we picked up 1.5 tons of garbage.
Wow.
His truck was full, my truck was full of garbage. And so we were like, oh my god! And this is in BC. It's BC is supposed to be a really clean place in the world.
Yeah.
And it was really shocking. So the next week we did it, and the next week two people showed up, and the next week we did it again, and then 5 people showed up, and the next week we did it again, 10 people showed up, and the next week we did it again, 20 people showed up, and suddenly it was a full movement. And every week we would meet up on Saturday or Sunday, and then the group would become bigger.
Wow.
And then suddenly we were able to pick up way more. So we would separate the groups. Okay, you guys go here. It was like a full mission. And then winter came, and then you're like all pumped. You're like, okay, now it's covered of snow. Everything is clean. And then the snow melts, and the spring arrives, and then things are everywhere again. So in one winter, everything comes back already. Yeah, it's pretty sad.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this is the world these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One
But it's really, and talking about fulfillment, that's why we came here.
Yeah.
This is fulfilling.
Yes.
This is something that you do completely for free. Nobody is paying you to pick up the garbage. It's something that you do, and you want to do something good, and it's really fulfilling. And you see like people are actually like enjoying it, and they ask questions, they question themselves, and they discover about different type of plastic that completely go everywhere, and you see like animals eating the plastic as well. It's really it's a bit of a roller coaster of emotion in a way.
Yeah.
And it's really fulfilling when you pick up everything and you discard everything to the transfer station. You're like, we did a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful work.
Mm-hmm.
It is so fulfilling. There's a whole energy that comes,
Mm-hmm.
like a literal energy as you're
Yeah.
doing that kind of work.
Yeah.
You're like carried through it in a certain
Totally.
way. And liking that back to the dopamine circuits. It's
Yeah.
like when we get too caught in those cycles that we have and trying to fulfill, and we don't necessarily get that. And then if we do something like that, we're filled with this whole other energy that can take over. And circling back again to breathwork and what you said, you felt a love that came from within or that was offered. And when we do these practices like yoga and qigong, we turn within. We source our love from within, and it creates a whole different energy within our system. Once again, more in alignment with serotonin and oxytocin. And when we fill our cup in that way, we're much more apt to want to do acts of service like that rather than take part in those ordinary dopamine rewarding circuits that we might be operating in dominantly. And I know this in my own experience because I have gone back and forth in the last few years where I do a little less practice, a little more practice. And it's quite remarkable how once I really fill my cup up with breath work, I'm like, wow, I just want to serve people in a whole different way. And I take on new activities and I do things completely different.
It's crazy, huh? Like sometimes I feel it when I do a practice. I even feel it so powerful for me that I would like actually to teach it to people. So sometimes I find myself in the middle of the breathwork. I find myself thinking that I want to be a breathwork practitioner and I want to share that with people.
Yeah, you said that before to me.
I said that before.
Yeah.
I think when I did the retreat with Ed, it was so powerful that I was like, well, I think that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
So it might not be the best stage of my life right now, or like not the right timing. But that might be something I want to do. My mom is a yoga teacher. She's a Swami.
Oh yeah.
And so I've been in that for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing to go through that, and thinking that you do this practice, and then you feel this inner peace, inner love, connected with yourself, and naturally you like, I want to share that. This is very important. This is an important practice, and I think everybody needs that. It's beautiful, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of people know about breathwork.
Yeah, it's becoming like I'm in
More
the
and
breathwork
more,
world
huh?
more and more. It's got like a wave.
It's still a little niche, huh?
It's still pretty niche.
Yes.
And once again, it does take a certain type of person to get
Yes.
into it.
Mm-hmm.
Some people will try it and they'll be resistant to it.
Yes.
And some people it just won't take for them for various other
Mm-hmm.
reasons. So, yeah, it's growing. We're looking to do monthly circles up in Squamish here. And then
Yes.
I'll be doing a circle up in Whistler and continuing to go out more. I was pretty chill last year about doing circles, but...
Circles are great.
Yeah.
Circles are great, and I think they can... they are easy to have new people trying and joining.
Yeah.
And then you really have this feeling when you do a circle that everybody is connected, everybody is supporting each other.
Mm-hmm.
There's no judgment.
Yes.
Like you have people like if I come in the Brave circle, you're gonna hear me scream and cry.
Almost guaranteed both. Absolutely.
But it's it's beautiful. So you see what's your vision with breathwork? How do we make breathwork more inclusive, more inviting for people? How do we? Because when you see yoga, there's yoga classes everywhere. There's yoga, and the yoga class are full, 20 people sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, why is breathwork not becoming as popular as yoga? Is it in a way, or is it?
I know some people in Vancouver leading weekly circles and a little bit more in like that.
Yeah.
It is a lot more of a powerful practice.
Yes.
Given one
Definitely.
session can take you to a past life or release a big trauma.
Yes.
So some people aren't really gonna drop into that like they could drop into a yoga class. But regularity of sessions is completely available.
Yes.
So it does take individuals to spearhead that. How would that look? And that's a whole bunch of business and other things. Mm-hmm. And I just haven't seen people doing that here in Squamish at least, or in Whistler. With the practitioners, I do think breathwork is going to, I don't know if that's the right word, but infiltrate so many fields in various capacities, not necessarily conscious connected breathing, but just teaching people that their breath is important, which is like the most underrated thing of how important it is and how little we pay attention to it. So everyone from coaches to doctors and naturopaths and yoga teachers, more and more it's going to be in the culture that, hey, our breath's important. What are all the ways we can work with it? You know, if you're a high performer, you're an athlete, try this type of breathing.
Yes.
There's a span of these that we can do. Yeah. I'm specialized in Qigong, medical Qigong, and breath medicine. So outside of the conscious connected breathing, if you have certain disease conditions or imbalances, there's certain breathing and moving patterns that are going to be beneficial for that condition, your nervous system and the organ. So there's so many different avenues. And we'll just need more and more people spearheading that. And then one of the barriers right now is adequate training and then time spent in the practice, because you can't just learn this and not practice it. You won't be a valid practitioner and you won't be able to maintain your practice at a high level unless you do that. And that's a lot of commitment because you can't do this practice unless you're willing to feel pleasant and unpleasant. So it asks that you continually raise your consciousness and continually do inner work, which is not a small thing. Yeah. So it does have a lot of continuing education, we could say. Yes,
and I think that's going back to what we were saying at the beginning, like doing things fully, like being like completely focused on what you do and like doing like everything with love and passion and all these things and your heart.
Yes.
And then doing something like that, you have to do it this way.
Yeah, I see.
You can't be just half and it doesn't work.
I like that every coach and all these people are doing it. Yeah. But there's a difference between, like, I take this on as like becoming a doctor. Yes. It's like all my retreats are Vipassanas and ayahuasca work and continually doing this work. And in 20 years, I might land to a place where I feel like I can bring the medicine in a good way. So that's the standard I hold breathwork medicine to, because I've seen it so many times help people in the deepest ways, including myself, going through many deep experiences of rebirths and completely changing my mind. So, yeah. And there's also this thing where, as a practitioner, to hold good space, they need to hold it in a way to allow people to go deep.
Yes.
And that's hugely dependent on the practitioner and how safe the individual feels around them and how knowledgeable they are of those spaces, because they enter altered states of consciousness. An individual won't surrender to the deepest level unless they feel supported, to go there. Safe. So if an individual is quite new and they're novice, they don't know what they're doing, they're not going to be able to bring a person to a very deep level. Yeah. So, people can try to do breath work and bring it out every week, but can you create a container that's consistently going to allow people to go deep? Yeah. Or is that container just going to remain superficial? And then it's like, are we evolving the practice or are we just getting it out? Yeah. And that's fine. There's all different avenues of getting breath work out, but there's a lot to it in that question. Yeah.
Yes. I just had a memory of, I was doing a camp in Peru last year.
A what? A camp in Peru?
A camp in Peru, and I had I had five clients from the States and Canada and a bit everywhere, and they were already into spirituality, and we were really at it's the little village in a lodge in Lamay. Lamay is right at the border of the Amazon forest. Okay, and we ended up talking about ayahuasca and like spiritual retreat and breath work and all these things, and then one night I said, if you want, I can give you a breath work session. And here we are, and they're all lying down in the living room, right? And then I put some music, and then here we go, like they start. So I explain everything. We did a little ceremony, and we sat down in a circle, and I told them to say their intention for the sessions. We did we did it quite nicely in a good way. Yeah. And they lay down, and then next thing you know, like after 15 minutes, some of them are crying. One is like laughing for the first time. They are like, "Holy shit, what's happening?" And then I was like, kind of like it was my first time doing that. and I didn't go deep. I kept it really short and a really nice, long, very, go back nicely to where we are. Because I felt like, wow, I don't have the tools actually to, if someone goes really deep into something, I don't have necessarily the tools to help him come out of that after. So it was very like kind of intense, big up, down, calm, come out of it. And some of the guys never done any breath work before. Yeah. And they completely loved it. They were like, we're gonna come back home and we're gonna be more on that. So we've been chatting with some of the guys, and some of them are doing more yoga and doing actually breath work, and they find practitioners, and it's pretty cool. Yeah. It's pretty cool. But yeah, anyways, I just wanted to share that. And I ended up being like, shit, I'm actually I'm doing that.
Well, it's interesting because there are so many breathing practices, and you can have so many sessions that would work so well. Yeah. And it's like, plant medicines, you can do them on your own. It can go really well. And sometimes if you do them on your own, and you could lose yourself depending on your skill. And so there's some risk there. So I'm not going to say people should do it. But at the same time, it's like there are some beauty in that.
To going back to being safe and like trusting the practitioner that you do the work with. Like I always feel when I go see you that like I can completely surrender and go wherever it takes me, and that's pretty amazing. I felt like that with Ed as well, and then I think at the end of the retreat, Ed said that he announced to everybody that he was leaving and he went to Bali. Yeah. And I was sad. I was like, but who do I see now? And he said, you should see Zach. Zach is your guy.
He warned me about you. It's like this super rad biker, super into the practice.
Anyways.
Yeah, we did a lot of work together in the first few years. Yeah. And you went deep and you continued to process. Once again, I lift that up because not everyone who does the practice even not everyone who consistently does it is actually processing a lot of emotions.
Yes.
I know quite a few people who consistently come and they still haven't dropped into a deep emotional release, but they're getting something from the practice. So they're like still tiptoeing in, but they're not surrendering. And that processing, it moves us forward in life, because those are the blocks that prevent our mind from overcoming the limitations and actually moving the emotions that are there or blocking us from us being really present and moving forward.
Yeah, earlier I felt like, now thinking about it, I felt like I might have held a little bit. I didn't drop in. I was a bit thinking when I showed up, thinking about the podcast and everything before. And I definitely was not maybe... last week I definitely dropped in right away. Huh?
Yeah.
But this session was a bit more held a little bit.
So, you okay with me discussing this on the podcast?
Yeah. I actually wanted to take my camera and film my session.
I was going to take a picture at one point when we had all the weights on you and everything. Heating pad.
What did you put on me, actually?
I put the 45 pound on you, or 35 pound.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, I put that on the stomach. And then had the kettlebell on you at one point. Had the heating pad, the iPads, and the...
Oh, wow.
That's what he thinks on you. I would take a picture. Okay.
But I think next session I'm gonna take my camera and I'm probably gonna film the session.
Sure.
Just to see a little bit.
We can set up with the lights and.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll read on your session. So we talked a little bit about how our breath represents how we live. Our inhale is this effort. Especially in this practice, we encourage the effortful inhale, and then our exhale is a release. And ideally, we can fully relax and surrender the whole system. When we marry those two equally, effort on the inhale, relax on the exhale, then we are in the state of regulation. And we're fully open to receive both poles of life, pleasant and unpleasant. And then we neutralize in that way, and then we drop all of our internal resistance, and that allows for process to come up more effectively. Your breathing pattern became dominant in the effortful sympathetic arousal, and then your exhalation didn't want to surrender. You heard the sound of the exhale. And then you did that, and I allowed it for the first little bit because it's not too big of a deal. If you want to stimulate, we did some breath holds. So long as we drop it at some point, we create that equal part breath, and then we can allow that breath to carry us through the session. When you transitioned, you dropped the breath, which has good therapeutic potential there, but there wasn't enough of a regulated, balanced breathing and surrender where you were fully dropped into those sensations without your internal resistance being dropped as well to allow that process to come up. So you felt that, right? The exhale with the control there?
Yeah, it was a bit...
Yeah. So it's still a powerful session to breathe like that. You go and clear stuff.
Definitely.
But you don't drop into that other polarity of fully surrendering. And I gather you were surrendered by the end of it. Your nervous system was regulated. But we didn't really soften into some pieces that you could have explored. Every session perfect the way it is.
I kind of twisted a little bit. And then I've really felt... I felt something here on my right side, on my shoulder, this whole area, and then it didn't really go there. Like I kind of stayed kind of shallow a little bit in a way. And then I started to calm down, and then I felt good, and that was it for the session. And that's interesting because sometimes it's the way it goes. Huh? Sometimes you have a session, and then it stays pretty mellow. There's no crying. I like when there's a good cry.
I feel like you got something out of it. For you,
like a lot of tension, and suddenly I cry.
For you, like one of the things to learn in the breath practice is that cadence of, okay, we can stimulate and we can control our breathing. That's fine to do during a session, but can we also drop in and actually deeply listen to the body? Because that same pattern that's happening and showing up in the breath session is what's happening in your life. And that's one of the reasons why you come to see me, is to break out of that pattern, right? To come into more of a neutral point, so then you can bring that into your life. So being able to like come up from that and then drop in, listen, surrender, and then you can continue to dance with a cadence there. And that for me is like the dynamic, you know, it's like being an athlete. Can you like activate, train, and then calm your nervous system and then go back into it? So some softening there. There might be a piece there underneath that you weren't willing to feel. It might have just been the energy that you're carrying with you, or maybe this is the energy that you want to bring out into the world. Maybe you're not wanting at this point to drop into that, which is completely fine.
Totally.
So there's a bunch of pieces, but I would say with the work that you were doing, you were getting into some things.
Yeah.
And one, I was worried a little bit in some of your pushes that you can actually injure yourself, right?
Okay.
You can't push too hard, right? We're a system and we can build up pressure, and I have had some injuries with breathwork and doing those. But for the healing response that you're looking for in your body, more of the relaxation response would at least a balance of them. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So I need to practice that a bit more. Like that when we go down, getting there and then feeling more. Like where are the sensations? Where is everything?
Feeling sensations and like this is a pattern that has shown up for you a fair amount, is not allowing the pattern to be an unconscious, subconscious pattern that just takes over.
Yeah.
So ideally we have a level of control of like, okay, I want to activate, but can I maintain my relaxation as I'm breathing? Because I find that a lot of times you just go into it and sometimes I'll cue, it's like, okay, it's time to slow down, and you just keep doing it. And I can't force you. Okay. So I just let you do it. So it's like, okay, so you're resistant to slowing down.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's completely subconscious or you were just working on something, so I just let it go. Could be different at different times, but that was something to explore for sure.
Okay.
That is for a lot of people, once again in the West, or in the sea to sky corridor West, we have a lot more of a sympathetic, and people like that stimulation, the breath holds, and that's like one side of it. And unless there's some guidance and they're continually brought to that point, because once again, we don't practice deep relaxation and deep listening as much. Many people don't even touch that, and they've practiced breath work for a year or two, and they haven't had a full surrender experience. They're getting a lot out of it because breath work's good, no matter what kind of breath work.
It's kind of starting to break the shell slowly.
Yeah, it's like sex.
Yeah.
If you're just pounding away every time, and you don't slow down and take it slow, you're like, oh my goodness, there's a whole other realm over here.
We can go slow, actually.
Yeah. So I would say the pattern that's showing up in your breath work may be showing up in your sex life, but we won't go there.
That's true, huh?
Right? How we do one thing is often how we do most things.
Yeah. What I was thinking actually is that, with the racing, like it has to be on demand. Like right now I have to stimulate myself and I need to go.
Yes.
And I think that's a little bit what I'm used to.
Yeah.
I'm really good at stimulating. Whoop, we go up there. But then the stillness and the calm, that's what you're totally right. That's the reason why I'm coming to see you, actually.
And how many years, decades did you bike for? So that system is so dominant.
30 years.
Yeah. And then when we do more regular work together, you come into a greater balance.
Yes.
And then the more dominant patterns come up. And it's not that these patterns are bad. They serve you very well. It's just like, what's your balance? And we all have a different level of balance.
Yes.
Some of us like to be on Salt Spring and not do much work.
Yes.
That's fine. And some of us like to be in Whistler and do 30 sports a year. So yeah, it's like, are we the conscious creator of our experience? And are we running on patterns, or are we choosing, and are the choices we're making bringing us the fulfillment and in alignment with our values and goals?
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And again, we go back to that balance.
Balance.
Yeah.
It's from that place where we can make optimal decisions.
Yeah. Beautiful.
So to complete here, we can do anything in the show notes in terms of like where people can find you, but do you have anything coming up that you would like to share or touch on, or touch back into?
So coaching, a lot of coaching this year in the Sea to Sky, private coaching.
This is coaching with biking.
Coaching with biking.
This is business coaching.
Mountain bike coaching.
It's like.
I'm not a trainer.
Okay.
So I'm not gonna train people and tell them, okay, you need to do this workout or whatever. I'm really like on bike skills specific. So I watch people how they ride, I film them, and then I see like what they need to change in their body position or everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I can really like correct people the way they ride and everything, and it's working really well. And camps as well, so more group staff, camps, 10, 12 people.
Mm-hmm.
We have a freeride program starting, we have a race program starting, something that's really specific to racing, something that's really specific to sanding gnarly lines, the mindset around it and everything. And I'm starting a club, so something that's more for community and way cheaper as well. For like the weekend, like maybe once a month, we will do sessions where we drop in and then we have 50 people and we go for a ride. We have some coaches and it's like more, we have a beer after, we chill, it's cool. So a lot of things coming for the summer with coaching, and then for me getting back on track after that, getting strong again, because all my programs are starting in April, so I have to be on top of my recovery here.
Mm-hmm.
And then sanding again. I'm gonna turn 38 this year, and I think I have still a lot of things left in me. I want to, I want to explore more. Like it's been really interesting to discovering after racing for all these years, and discovering like how gnarly we can go, like how steep we can go, like how far we can go in this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And what are the techniques involved on the bike, because it's all about techniques.
Mm-hmm.
What are the techniques involved, and discovering that and then sharing that with people. So I'm really committed to that and to learn more. It's cool.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's interesting. So my website is www.intothenard.com. Into the Gnarl, it's my company, and the videos that I do on YouTube and everything. And otherwise on Instagram, just my name, Yoann Barelli.
Uh-huh. Yeah, we'll link those.
Yeah,
because that's difficult spelling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you have a fascinating presence and energy. Mm-hmm. I don't know what I introduced in the beginning, like a fascinating creature or cat. You have a very big, hilarious personality. And it goes with it. I'm pretty sure I've seen some naked videos of you biking.
Maybe.
So it's very entertaining, and I look forward to all that you're creating.
Cool.
And I look forward to continuing to work with you.
Thank you, Zach.
Thanks for coming
Thank you
on.
so much.
Hi, Om.
Hi, Om. Thank you so much, everybody. Cool.
Good work.
That was good.